Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Comics Unlimited podcast. It has been about a week or so, um, and we decided that we want to take an extra little bit of time because we want to honor the man George Perez today. I think that it was a little bit of a not really a shock that he passed away. It's coming up on, well, let's see, it'll be 2 weeks tomorrow if I'm not mistaken. So, but we wanted to really kind of figure out what we want to talk about, stories that we want to talk about, and things that we're doing in publication to honor him as well. So let's get started. Bring your stories to it. Hopefully, you guys have a few good stories too that you guys can tell us about with George and your experiences with him. So here we go.
Welcome to the Comics Unlimited podcast with your hosts, Glenn B. Fleming and Ted Davis.
Good morning. I am Ted Davies.
Afternoon, and I'm Glenn Fleming.
Yeah, how are you doing, man? How are you guys doing over there?
We're all right. It's nice and sunny today, and it's nice and pleasant weather and everything.
It is here too.
The only downside for me at summer is that I have to sort of cut the lawn a lot more.
Yeah, me too.
I don't like gardening.
What better problems to have, man? I got one of those new lawnmowers, the ones with the chargeable battery and all that stuff in it. It's been pretty good, I have to say. They've come a long way.
Well, on my lawnmower, etched on the handle, it says "Property of Adam." So
it's probably, that old, huh? Wow.
It must be 20 years old.
Got it from the dregs. Yeah.
It's just awful. But,
So it's all good. Let's talk about our sponsors today. John Cashman's, obviously everybody knows John Cashman, Cashman's Comics. Check out everything he's doing at cashmanscomics.com. Say hello to Petey too. If you need anything as far as new comics and a couple old ones too, he'll ship nationwide, and actually he'll ship internationally if you pay for it, if I'm not mistaken. So check out everything that John's doing. Also, we've got Northern Grounds, our new sponsor, northerngrounds.coffee. Check out everything they're doing. Of course, I've got the Waking Dragon blend in my coffee cup. Use Caffeinate TED 2022 for your promote to get some discounted caffeine in your diet. So check out everything that they're doing. Okay. We've got a lot of news coming up, don't we? With things happening right now.
We do, yeah. The latest issue of Comics Unlimited is in review on Amazon, so that should be there any day, hopefully. There's been a few problems, but there always is. But it's 88 pages full of good stuff about comics, and we've got Neil Adams and we've got Mr. Perez in there too, articles about those people.
Absolutely. And we'll show a little bit, snidbit on that too. I'm going to show them the cover. Yeah. Beautiful cover, man. I'm glad that we honored both of them on there. That's awesome. And you got the side note of Hatch too on the back cover there. Hatch.
That's heading for Indiegogo soon. That comic, actually, it's 40 pages plus. It's been ready since before Christmas.
Yes.
But with everything going on and life happening, I've had to delay it. So I can't wait to get it out.
It's going to be awesome, and I'm looking forward to the new publication for Comics Unlimited. It's going to be really good. We were talking about honoring George Perez in the article or in the book, and that was something that's really important to us. You guys can check that out. It will be on Amazon soon here, and we've got another one as well about Neil Adams too. So we thought we'd honor them both in that publication.
You know that. Sorry, that spread that you're showing now with Neil Adams.
Yes.
Do you know what I really like, and I love this as a kid, and I still do. I love the way the color is out of register on that mask.
Yeah, I do too, man. I love that.
It makes it real, doesn't it? It's fantastic.
And it's there's something to be said about having it not perfect. And I know that's one thing I don't like about some of the newer stuff, because it is too perfect in a lot of regards.
Well, that's like I've said to you before about the not to bang on about it again, but why I like to use a pencil and board, because you and everything. I mean, computer stuff is fantastic, but and people say, oh well, it's easy to erase your mistake, but it's part of it. I have to tell you, when I draw something and I ink it, I do quite enjoy erasing the pencil excess pencil. I enjoy that.
Yeah.
And I would hate to just press a button and it's gone.
Yeah.
That's
I
just
can
me.
understand
That's
it.
just
No,
me.
I'm with you. And I
And
think that's, that's that's part of the artwork. I mean, it's
yeah.
all relative, right? It's all subjective, but yeah, I'm with you on that. I get
Well, I
what you're
remember
saying.
reading an interview with Kate Bush, and she said that as far as she's concerned, the best parts of her music are the mistakes. And if you listen to the tracks, there are some mistakes in there,
Yeah.
but she doesn't fix it because she likes the fact that it's not perfect. And that's what CDs have done with music.
Yeah.
When they're very clinical, aren't they, CDs, and you can very precise. And that's why vinyl is always so good. I don't listen to vinyl so much these days, but there's a warmth to it. And
There is.
those crackles you get when you put the stylus on and stuff like that, it makes it real. It's
the truth. And I think that I think that you're spot on with that. That's one thing. Christine and I have been doing a lot of estate sales and garage sales on that lately, and we found we're starting to get the vinyls. We're starting to find really. We've always had vinyls, since kids.
Yeah.
My brothers didn't want their Elton John stuff like that, so I just kept them. They want them now. So sad. Too bad. But with what we were talking about with the vinyls, though, Christine and I are enjoying that part of it, now as we're getting older now. So I don't know. I think the imperfections, the perfection is in imperfection. And that's it's called wabi sabi in Japanese. That's what they mean. And that's a great, if you got a crack in a cup, you fill it with gold. You don't throw the cup out. You know what I mean? You make it. So I think that's important in art as well as in life. But.
And I think it's China. When somebody produces a piece of art, somebody will spoil it in a way because you can't have perfection.
Yes.
Which is the wrong thing to do. You shouldn't be destroying it to make it imperfect. If you make a mistake, leave that. But don't hurt it when you
don't desecrate it. Don't destroy it.
Yeah,
I agree with that. Let's say hi to everybody here too before we get started with George's celebration here. Don and Carl.
Ryan.
Hey Ryan, how you doing, sir? Thanks for sharing this out. Thanks for liking this out too, guys. I appreciate it. For someone new to comics, let's see what we got here, Ryan. Where doors one start with George Perez. What trades should they? Oh, wow. Well,
Wonder Woman?
I mean,
I don't know.
anything with George that you can get your hands on right now. I don't even know if I would suggest you look through Avengers and I would start with Avengers because I like Avengers. Fantastic Four, the later run, and I'll show you some of these that I've got during the duration. But yeah, I don't know if I'd go through the trades. I mean, you can do a trade if you want to. Get one-offs, man. Get a couple of the one-offs. You can probably find them still in dollar bins here and there because George is so prolific. I mean, it's getting to the point now. I know people are starting to buy up all of his stuff, signed stuff, or they're selling stuff. I'm holding on. Both Pete and I decided that we're going to be holding on to a lot of the Perez things that mean something to us. There's going to be a few things that we're going to let go out of the collection, but that's I would definitely check Avengers and Fantastic Four, any of the ones that he's got. Obviously Superman, and the Crisis, any of those are excellent, but you'll find them. There's going to be a huge influx of Perez's stuff. Good morning, Pete. How you doing, man?
That page you showed of Perez for Comics Unlimited. Can you bring that up again?
Absolutely.
Give me about that page.
Sure. Hold on 1 second.
There isn't. I've not seen a lot of Perez pencil work, but look at that pencil. I could ink that. Everything you need to know is there.
Yeah.
On that pencil drawing there.
Absolutely.
Now, if he was drawing everything like that, that is an amazing talent because he draws 50 people in each panel, and there's 16 panels on the page.
And it's our backdrop there. I don't have it in quite focus, but yeah, it's an amazing the feat that is. We were talking about how we're kind of going right into overdrive here with Perez, but that's one thing that, as far as his work goes, I don't think there's anybody better that did the multi-character layout than he did. I think that you find something new every time you look at.
If anybody should have drawn team books, it's Perez.
Yes,
because like you say, that in the background there, I couldn't even remember all those characters if I'd drawn them. You know what I mean? It's just it's
It's crazy.
incredible. It's
And
incredible.
just in the speed that he had at it at his height, what he was doing is just crazy. Ryan said that check out my interview and review with writer Glenn B. Fleming about his latest documentary Legacy of Jack Kirby. That's awesome. And it's a great book. We'll talk a little bit more about that at the end of the show too. I'm just going through bear with me, guys. I'm just going through some of the comments here. Not everything's coming up. Sorry about that. Okay, well, we'll have to get back to that later. I don't know why it's not coming up.
Just people saying hello, I think.
Yeah, let me zoom out of this a little bit. Okay. So, okay, well, first off, what was your first exposure to Perez?
It would have been Fantastic Four.
Okay.
I think didn't he come in there about 10 issues after Kirby?
He did. Let's see. I think he started
because John Romita followed Kirby for about 3 issues.
Right.
With John Verporten on inks, which was really nice artwork, but the stories weren't so clever.
Right. 188. I've got it wrong. 188 is these are the ones I remember as a kid. So I don't know if it was right after. I'm assuming it's right after Kirby.
Well, Kirby left in 102.
Oh, okay.
So that's a couple of years later, isn't it? So,
okay, yeah. So I mean, that's only what I've got in front of me.
I might be wrong.
That's what I've got in front of me. But let's see. I mean, Pete can jump in. He can tell me too. I know there's. Yeah, I'm in the 190s here, and these are all Perez,
because. I know John Romita drew 2 or 3 issues, and then John Buscema drew it, but I don't think he drew it for 80 issues. John Buscema, I might be wrong, but anyway, it would be the Fantastic Four for me.
Yeah,
and there's a certain quality to his line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like the line work.
I agree. I think both Avengers and Fantastic Four were mine. I wasn't really big into DC, as you and I both talk about. I didn't really get into the Superman, the whole the classic picture of Superman holding the dead body, the Supergirl, all that, and
I bought that.
And I never got into that.
I bought that for the artwork. I mean,
sure, right? I didn't end up getting it, but I mean, things like this, this type of cover.
Yeah,
that's what I really dug when I was a kid. And I would have to get these because we didn't have a local comic book shop in Detroit. We had to go. I literally got them in a 3 or 4 pack from Chatham's supermarket. They had the packs together. You didn't know what you're getting except for the front page, the front comic.
Yeah,
and everything was Fantastic Four. So I ended up getting these. Basically, I don't know if they were throwouts or what they were, but I still have them, and they're great. I mean, they were awesome, and they were all Perez, almost all of them.
I bought a few comics around that time because I was at college and I was traveling and doing all.
Sure.
I ducked out of comics for a good 10 years. It was sort of mid-80s when I came back in, just in time for the Crisis books. Because like you, I was never really a big DC follower, and I only started buying DC when Kirby went to do the New Gods in 71, early 71, and then I stopped. Then after about when New Gods finished and that kind of thing was when I was going to college. So I was growing up then. I was 17, 18, so I was an adult. So I stopped. And they weren't going places I wanted to go. And then 10 years later, I found all the Perez stuff and all the Neil Adams stuff. So I missed a lot of stuff when it was released.
Right. And I don't think
later.
That's great though, because I think you still got it though in the era that they needed to be. Here's another classic. Just multiple character covers.
I just really wish, like with Kirby, I really wish that they had preserved all the pencils for those and published those. Because I'd buy that.
Right. Well, I think now they're getting savvy to that. But back then they just didn't do it. They were turning them out. I'm just showing you for colors and everything. I mean, this is the vision that I even remember. This is these are the characters I grew up with. And it's, you get to the point where they're time machines now. At our age, they're time machines. And that's, I talk a lot about this with being able to if a penny reminds you of something, and it's important to you, then that penny is the most valuable thing, right?
Yeah,
so you just find something that if it brings back that memory and it can strike that back, that's exactly what
I have
doing.
I have a ruling pen. Do you know what a ruling pen is?
Sure.
Right. Well, I bought that in 1972, my ruling pen, and I'm just starting to use it again after 50 years. And it's the most
Awesome.
amazing. It's so good. It's so precise.
Yeah.
When you're doing your line, it's absolutely brilliant. You know, you drop that bit of ink in the nib, and you know,
Sure.
it's absolutely incredible.
It's spot on.
And even things like this. See this rule?
Yeah.
Steel rule.
Mm-hmm.
I've been using that since 1979.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
I
know that was
get,
one thing that Perez did too. He used a lot of the same stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what is, when you're looking at his boards on different, YouTube, he had a YouTube show or whatever, you can see the same materials that he used over and over and over again. So he was definitely a master in the art, but also he was comfortable with what he was doing.
Well, it's like when you buy a pair of jeans, isn't it? You get your favorite jeans, you want to wear them all the time because you buy some jeans and they don't quite fit you, do they? But you get some jeans and they've obviously been made for you, you know, and you walk about and you think you look great and all that kind of thing. But you get really comfortable with it, don't you? So why change? You know,
that's true.
Like we said before about Joe Sinnott, he used the same wooden little 12-inch rule for every line he drew since about 1955.
Right. Well, Kirby's desk.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
One of the things about that I really appreciated, and I think that this is probably going to outweigh more than anything else, and I think that a couple of you in the audience will agree with me on this. I think that Perez's work is one thing. It's a segue to the man. One of the things that his stories, the stories that people talk about him interacting with people, interacting with kids at the Comic-Cons. And these are not generations, I shouldn't say, but this is like throughout kids' lives when they were little kids at the Comic-Cons up till adulthood. And they're still coming back to see George at these Comic-Cons. That's that's his legacy as far as I'm concerned. The rest of it, okay. We've got all these great books, all these things that he's done, all this subjective artwork, because not everybody likes his work. But those stories I have not yet heard one story that has been derogatory, has been short with people, has been.
Yeah, it's the same.
Not one.
The same I found with Kirby, you know the story and everything. And he was such a decent person. Yeah. And I've heard stories about other people who aren't quite as nice.
Right. And I think that I mean, my experience with Perez, the first meeting him, thanks to Pete for introducing me to him. Like you guys know it, you've heard it before. It was, I mean, literally George unloading his van at a hotel. That was it. That was how we met, and that was and he was awesome. He remembered my name every time I walked by him. Even Christine's hard to forget, but that was, but for that and him not, what was cool about Chris not knowing him was even better because he felt even more relaxed and he was more, he was just George. It wasn't, he was just Mr. Perez. He wasn't like, he wasn't like the guy that, I mean, literally that changed the way I look at a lot of comic, everything. I mean, every perspective I had on comics, everything changed. Never had a chance to meet Kirby, but I got to meet Perez.
Same with me. I never got to meet Perez. So
right. So there we are.
I always think that George Perez got my job.
And how was that?
Well, he's 6 months older than me, and he was born in New York or somewhere. And when he went to the office when he was 19, Joe Sinnott, Jack Kirby, Gene Cole, and John Romita, those people were there. When I went to the office, it was 3 other guys who people still don't know who they are.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, because I can't imagine walking into a room with Joe Sinnott and George Perez and Gene Cole and not learning something. I can't imagine that.
Do you think that it was his upbringing that led him to be as nice as he was throughout life, or do you think it was something he just decided to do?
I don't think he decided. I just think it's probably both. His parents and his family were probably really good people, and he was a good person as well. Because you can be a good person in a bad environment.
You can. Well, that's why I asked it. I think that he
Yeah,
had a
it's
very
probably
good
both.
relationship with his
Probably both.
parents.
Yeah, yeah.
I know when he got sick and he, COVID, everything happened. He couldn't see his parents. It took, I don't know if it was 2 years or a year, something along those lines, but he got to see them, relatively shortly before he passed away. And it was,
Yeah.
I'm glad that he documented. I'm glad that they let us on that journey a little bit personally, because I think that
Well,
that must not have been easy.
I think, I think that applied to the world though, didn't it? Because my brother died last November,
Mhm.
and I would see him at least once a week all my life.
Yeah.
Until COVID, and in COVID, for the 2 years of COVID before he died, I probably saw him 10 times.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's not he doesn't have the monopoly on not seeing people, does he? But
No.
it's been a shame for a lot of things and a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I was going to ask you before, who is his best inker? Because I know Joe Sinnott did a lot of inking on him, and Dick Giordano.
Good question. I never really paid attention to it. I was always interested in layout.
Yeah, I think his best inker was himself.
That's probably true. That's
but
very
I don't
true.
think he did. I don't think he did enough inking on himself.
I think that's probably true. I don't know if anybody, Pete or anybody knows. I'm going to open this one up and we're going to find out who the inker is on this, the Vision one I was just looking at. Let's see. Hold on one second. Good morning, Eric, by the way. Mr. Hawkins is in the house. Hope he's doing well. I know he's a Perez fan. Okay, so let's see what we got. This is Avengers 194, signed by Perez.
Is it Sinnott?
We shall see. Boy, you're impatient. God.
Sorry.
Man.
That big red light's approaching fast.
Robestein. Joseph.
Oh, right. Okay.
So that one I do like. I think that, and he might have had probably, we're going to open a couple of them here, and we'll see if Robestein was, but I think you're probably right. I know that there was, I got to get this one cleaned and pressed big time. There's some definite, a lot of these are very similar in line. So I bet you it's about the same across the board. And we can check it out, though. Just give me a second. Sorry about that. I'm just taking my time with this. Sorry. Who did you say was your favorite?
Himself.
Thinker? Himself, yeah.
Yeah, and Joe Sinnott, because Joe Sinnott can just...
Well,
Joe Sinnott, he's God, isn't he? So,
he is. And
I would imagine that most artists would want Joe Sinnott on them. I mean, even in Gene Colan, didn't he? And I don't think their styles mix, but he would always do a good job.
I'm opening up 191 Avengers, again, signed by Perez. Hold on, so I'm just showing you what I got here. Multiple with the gray gargoyle on that one. Let's see what we got here. And we have writer is Dave Michaelini. John Byrne is on this one. Artist. What does that one say? Colorist is Sharon. Letterer is Costanza. And let's see. It's not saying. It says John Byrne and Dan Green are artists on this. It does not give an inker on that. Interesting.
Dan Green would be the inker, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I would think. It's just weird the way they layered it like that.
So Perez has done the cover.
Yeah. Yep. Perez did the cover on that one. So I think you're probably right. And then it says Perez. This one's interesting because this is I don't know if you can see this or not, but it says George Perez and Buscema on here. I don't know if you can see that or not, but
that'll be Sal, won't it? A little bit because John Buscema wouldn't be inking anybody else's stuff.
Right. So
he's a good artist, Sal, isn't he? He's very good.
Beautiful stuff. Classic, and it presents so well. This comic, though, I mean, it's these are 50 years old almost. I mean, it's beautiful. Some of they present so well, and I want to have I want to do some of them. I want to have and Pete and I've been talking about actually getting archival certifications on a lot of them, but that's something that I think that you need to do because they do present so well. The colors are so good, some of
Yeah.
them. But hey, Joe, how you doing, man? Good morning. Jody's in the
Hi,
house
Joe.
too. So, but I think that I think the stories with I don't know if you guys ever met Perez. By all means, add to the chat. I know Pete's had extensive time with George. Pete that's in Pete Ryan that's in the
You
call
know,
here.
we're coming to that time, aren't we, where I think there are only 4. Can't remember now. I have to think about it. 3 or 4 of the 12 men who walked on the moon still alive.
Yeah,
And all these people from the Silver Age, or whatever you want to call it, are going.
yes,
Because they're all getting old, and they'll all be more or less going at the same time, so to speak. Because I mean, I know Buzz Aldrin is 92.
Yeah.
And obviously Armstrong and Collins went last year, and Armstrong went 10 years ago. But do you understand what I'm saying? We're coming to a point where there's going to be, and it's very soon, where there's a line where there's none of these guys around anymore.
Right.
And
it's up to us to continue the stewardship
legacy
of it.
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
we
Yeah,
have to.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
even if, that was something my son said to me. He says, these comics are extremely valuable to you and your peers and that, Dad. He says, but what's going to make it important for me? What was, I said, well, okay, then I didn't do my job. I said, I'm going to educate you on it, and then you can decide. You can decide if Mike Mignola might be your guy. Maybe that's your era. Who knows? I said, but that's that's something that I'll do my best to show you why it's exciting. And that's why we bring up Kirby a lot with you when I'm talking with him or whoever. My soon to be daughter-in-law or whatever. We talk about Kirby. We talk about what made it so great and what made it not so great, and what I just bring it up like that, just like I would if I'm talking to them about music, because there's electronic music that they listen to that I don't quite understand but then you hear the backstory of some of these people, and that's what I find fascinating. And just like with comics, but I think that's we're not burdened with it, but we're privileged with that stewardship. We need to pass forward that other thing. Pete, though, Pete's, I think that you're selling yourself short, bro. We've had a lot of discussions about Perez and the time that he took signing a lot of the things that we have. Unbelievable amount of time that he's taken.
That's giving back, isn't it?
He was
obviously
awesome about
grateful.
That. He was so good about that, though. He would go between signings at Comic-Cons when we would be there, and he would actually get a stack out from underneath the table of of Pete's stuff and whatever, and sign it. I showed you some of the stuff I can't show you on air. Glenn, because you're friends. But there's things that he did over and above that we can't. We were asked not to show on air. After
it's a gratitude, because I don't know whether there was a soccer player. He's 70 now. He was called Kevin Keegan. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But he's a really nice guy, and he played for Liverpool in the 70s, and then he went to sign for Hamburg in Germany. And after his first training session, he stayed there for 4 hours signing autographs.
Yeah.
And he was asked why he did that. He said, because these people, I'm playing for these people. They pay my wages. They give me the privilege of playing football. And he stayed for 4 hours signing autographs. And
I don't know.
It's like Kirby feeding me when I went to his house.
Right, exactly. It's like Roz feeding you, right?
He did not ask me to leave. I was there for 6 hours the first time. He didn't ask me to leave. I could have stayed there all night. Probably not. But you understand what I mean?
No. But I think that, we have to be
people.
There's got to be a certain balance to it, but you got to be grateful to it. Absolutely. Eric Hawkins says we're losing legends, and there hasn't been anyone in recent years to take their place as well. And I think that's, I think that there are, it's just not to the magnitude to what we've made these people out to be. This is what we're seeing right now with the Marvel movies and everything else, the technology we've got now to produce these characters to the height what they need to be. I just think that this is just part of the handoff. That there's going to be, I think, like I'm not saying that Neil Gaiman draws like Jack Kirby, but storytelling wise, some people think he is an icon to where that is just there's no one else that can tell a story like him. Okay, I can see that. He has got his own particular way of telling a story um, that sets the generations. There's a lot of people that, Tolkien was a big deal. You know what I mean? I know it wasn't for you necessarily, but you've got to look at it from there's still a lot of up and coming stories that have yet to be told. These are the greats. These are the ones that these are kind of the foundation, like we talk about all the time, the foundation of where we all
Yeah,
grew up in that era. I just think it's also because the magnitude of production of how many comics came out in the era, the amount of people, the generation, the baby boomers that were reading this, the Gen
mhm.
Xers that were reading this. There was a huge amount of people that read these comics, which you're also seeing, and so that era is coming to an end a bit, and that's
Yeah.
something that the next, we have to hand
I
off to the
think
next one.
I think what happens in life, it's like with music, when you had the explosion of music in the late 50s and 60s, and you get all these people coming through like the Beatles and Elvis and Jerry
Yeah,
Lee Lewis and
yeah,
you know the Eagles and Rolling Stones and all these loads of people doing this fantastic work. And then for me there was a lull, and
yeah,
then but it comes back again, and I think we're heading into the lull now, where these in the 60s are these great artists, comic writers and artists, and then there's a bit of a lull, I think, because people tend, it seems to me, this is my opinion, uh, the big two, so to speak, seem to be resting on their laurels a lot with these fantastic IPs that these older guys have, that they seem to resent,
yeah.
produced and
Hmm.
created. But in the future, they're going to have to start producing new stuff
Yeah. Well,
because
and
it
I
won't
think that you'll
last
see it.
like
It's an
that.
ebb and flow. It's an ebb and flow,
Yeah,
though. There's
yeah,
there's people, like I said, there's a baton that has to be handed off a little bit. And
yeah.
I don't think that it's far fetched to say that the indie scene, if you want to call it that, isn't going to produce something of those epic. It might not be the same art, but the storytelling is some of them are just we haven't seen anything yet. It's going to be something to where I think like I said, there's an ebb and flow to it. That we
Yeah.
had such an influx. There's not going to. I don't think there's going to be another Fantastic Four or another Avengers or another that type of movement of. There might be. I don't think the Umbrella Academy adds up to that, but I still think it's entertaining.
Mhm.
But for other generations, a lot of people like the Power Rangers. Never was into that. I was into
Yeah.
Ultraman, never into any of the Power Ranger stuff. But some people just think it's it, or the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I'm a big fan of that because I was in that era. Love them. But there's only, in the new series that's coming out right now, incredible stuff that's coming out as far as the storylines and that. But I think that we need to how can I put it? I don't think mourning's the right word. I don't think mourning or grieving the loss of them. That's why I wanted to say, I titled this "A Life Well Lived" because there was a balance to George that he gave back. I think more than most, and I think
But
that when you look at it, like Pete was saying, that he would give so much to charity. It wasn't
mhm.
even funny. I mean, I
Yeah.
mean, I would see stacks of books, hundreds of books that he signed, and I don't think he charged for any of it.
Mm.
When he gave back, he gave back. I know the artwork that he gave to people, including myself and Pete, and that it was, yeah. It's just incredible, just incredible guy. And I really have to give his parents kudos. And I'm sorry that he died I think way too young,
Yeah.
way too young.
Yeah.
But anyway, I digress a little bit here. Sorry about that. Hi
No, no,
Grant, how you doing? Go ahead. Go ahead.
no. I'm just going to say you don't have to apologize for that because it's true, and and it's like I said, that are these people that are leaving, and we're going to come to a point, I think, where something will happen,
Yeah.
because it has to happen. Not that Captain America is ever going to disappear or Superman,
Right.
because the creators of those are no longer here. So there's the proof. But I think people have to sit down and get some good stuff going and stop changing everything that's gone before,
Yeah.
and
Well, they are.
bring
I
up
mean,
something new.
you and I've seen a lot of. I mean, I try to be as. I mean, I'm not saying my stuff is like there, but it's. I try to be original though. And that's a
Yeah,
hard thing.
yeah,
A
yeah.
lot of people aren't. They want Hollywood wants originality. You might not think they do, but they do.
Well,
They don't want the reboot. They want it.
my prediction is for you is that when your thing happens,
Yeah.
somebody's going to be giving you a phone call for the comic.
Yeah. Well,
That's my prediction.
and that could
Because
be good.
because
And that,
if only that they'll want a piece of it. And
well,
when they
right.
see it,
And that's, I mean,
when they see it, they'll realize how good it is.
the extortion is or not extortion. That's a word I'm looking
I know
for.
what you mean. I know what you mean.
With you want it exploiting
Yes.
IP is really important. And I
Yeah.
think that you're seeing that now in a way with Disney and everything else that's happening with the Marvel universe. You're seeing that. You're seeing and it just happened in a smaller way back in the 60s and 70s. You're looking at, and I don't consider Stan Lee. There's a lot that goes into the whole dynamic of everything that happened with Jack
Yeah.
and everything, and we won't go down that rabbit hole. But there's
No.
some definite with an IP, whether it's yours or mine or whoever, it's in comics in general. As long as you own it, they're going to try to exploit it in a way that's going to make the most money. They're going to squeeze that sponge, whether it's a keychain, making a keychain of the figures, or if it's whatever. And that's just part of the beast. Now with what we've got in our, let's say in our collections right now, we've got, like I said, it's a stewardship. Yeah, there's going to be money involved, transaction, money, trades, whatever, trading people for product or whatever for value. But there's something that we're continuing that perpetuating royalty, if you want to call it that, for future family members of Jack, of George Perez. And I think that we're obligated to do that in a lot of respects.
Yeah, I don't think there's two parts to this story, isn't there? There's the appreciation of the work,
mm-hmm.
and then there's the money side of it.
Yes.
You know, and I don't think it's wrong because money makes the world go around. As the song says. But so we all want $10 million, don't we?
Sure.
I want $100 million every day.
Yeah. Sure.
And it depends how you go about it. I'm not making missile systems, to get that money,
right,
and that kind of thing. But I think I think it's two different tracks. There's we tend to talk about the actual creativity.
Thanks, Eric. Well, okay.
So like you're saying about the stewardship and all that kind of thing. Yeah, sure, but if you've got that book and you love it and you want to pass it on for the next generation, if you can make $100 on it, you will do, won't you?
Yeah, right. Thanks, guys. Pete says the digital medium has started to break out, and we'll see so much more from it. And I think I think you're probably right. We talked about collecting newer books. If you're into that, I know that speculation's kind of a funny thing, because if a movie comes out or if the book has been picked up for development, speculation is that they're going to be making more, blah, blah, blah. And I think speculation can ruin, and I think Jody might jump on this a little bit, might ruin comic books in general for people, because they're looking at, oh, okay, cool, I can buy this for $10 and a year it'll be worth 150 or whatever. And they're thinking like that. They're not thinking, man, this is a cool story. This is, this isn't, they're not thinking about the Hulk, how the Hulk story progressed over the course of the last 40 years, 50 years. They're looking at it from a standpoint, oh, okay, Dave Finch did this. Awesome. I get him to sign this. It's going to be worth X. And I get that.
Well, that's why I can understand why people like Stan Lee want $50 for him to sign your book, because he's a money man. He's thinking, how much is this person going to get out of it? And when Jack signed my comics, I don't think that was even in his mind. He just signed them.
Well, and I think that's why Roz was the balancer. He needed that, because I think he was so wound up he was just trying to help. He wanted to get the story out and get and he thought he was doing the right thing.
Yeah.
I mean, if somebody buys my book, I absolutely will sign it if they want me to. I think
Yeah.
I think I'm obligated to, and I would want to. I'm privileged to be able to do something like that. I
Yeah.
think I think you need to do that. And 9 times out of 10, they'll say, yeah, please sign it. They might want it in the inside cover or whatever, but I think that's something we need to do as creatives, especially the people that were first there, that were giving their money to get the production out, whether it's on
Well, I
Kickstarter or
just
whatever.
I just sent one of my books out, and the guy specifically, I asked him what he wanted me to put in it, and he said he didn't want it signing at all. So that's
Okay.
okay. That's
Okay.
Saves
See,
me half a second.
everybody that orders them, I mean, especially John Cashman, he makes me sign everything.
Yeah.
Because that's what people look for when they're at the shop. They'll look for signatures versus not signed. Grant says they could have created a generation of lifelong comic book readers by putting out some really good comics back in the 90s. But most of these were some of them did. I have to admit, some of them did. Now, this one's an interesting one because I know you and I aren't really into this. Pete's been wanting me to get more into the NFTs. I don't, I think that this is an interesting dilemma that we're in, because what if somebody buys Perez's original work like this on a digital format? Say that he did some original work that we don't know of, and then it's on a digital format. The family is going to get paid royalties on immediately, which is great, I think. But I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of things in that. Anybody pipe up on that one if you guys think anything about the NFT market on that. And here, yeah, Jody, I figured he probably would jump in. Speculation will price out possible reader or consumers of the IP over the investment aspect. A book that comes out at $4.99 on a new comic book Wednesday shouldn't be $100 the following day. I agree with that. And that's, I think that one of the greatest things about our era of being able to pick up George Perez's books off the newsstand or whatever it was, that was awesome. I mean, those days are, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's those days for George obviously are one thing, but for the newer people coming into this,
didn't the direct market destroy all that? Because I used to get my comics from the paper shop,
yeah,
off the spinner rack.
But I think so. I think it probably ended up subduing it. I don't know if it destroyed it, but it subdued it quite a bit.
I think it took it. I think it took it away from the eyes that may have just picked it up as a random. Because if I go to Manchester to the Forbidden Planet, which is the only place you can get comics, there's another the shop around the corner. There's two places in Manchester. I'm specifically going in there to look at the comics.
Yeah.
Whereas, how many people go into the newsagent every day?
Right.
And buy a newspaper or whatever, a book, or whatever they get in, Coca-Cola or whatever they get. Well, when I used to go in the newsagent, I went straight to the comics rack. There was no Forbidden Planet when I was a kid, and I'm glad, because I could go to different places and check out the rack, in the and pick things up there like that. But I
think that's just a normal. It's a habitual thing that we did, and just like people now go to Comixology on their iPads or whatever, or on their phones to look through things that way, because that's just the way they do it.
Yeah.
Eric says NFTs are the future of the digital media. They might be in a lull right now, which I agree. They're just in a lull. I think that they're going to be coming back. They'll bounce back. I have a roadmap for NFTs. Just got to take some time to create the art. Comics keep getting in the way. What a better problem to have, my friend. I know that there's, let me read this for Grant here. There's only 2 newsstands still open in all Pittsburgh. I don't know if they sell comics or not. We had a guy in Detroit that would sell newspapers. Literally, they took the newsstands all out, and he'd be the only one standing there. And that was up till probably 20 years ago. I couldn't believe the guy was making any money. Just for safety's sake, I wouldn't want to be on the corner like that. But he was doing it, and he sold it. He sold out all the time. And this is, I don't think I could tell you the last 20 years, I have not picked up a paper. I don't think. 15 years. I don't think I've picked up a newspaper. And I used to read the Wall Street Journal. I mean, USA Today. I was big time into that. My dad was,
I
I'd always have the newspaper at the house.
I used to buy a paper, but it's a long time since I bought one.
Yeah. There's not, there's really no advantage to it for right now, what I could get online. And I search for what I want. I search for the news I want. So.
I think a lot of stuff, the wonder has gone, because I can remember we had a newsagent called Pages, this guy called Tom Page or something. It was called Pages. And it was just a little newspaper shop on the way to school. And I went in there, and I was 12, and I saw that fantastic full cover when the Inhumans, that Doomsday one with the yellow cover with Black Bolt with his. And I walked through the door and saw that. And I think I've said this before. I've said it somewhere. I didn't have any lunch that day because I spent my lunch money buying that comic.
Yeah.
And it was worth it.
Yeah.
Because it was.
I know there's stories about George Perez like that. I know that there's kids that have used their lunch money to buy his work.
Yeah.
I've gone back through a lot of the collection I had over the last, say, 10 years, and I didn't realize how much George Perez I had. I still, that's still one of my favorite covers, but the one that, I mean, it really just, and they were just so red. It's like the ones that you were showing me with Jack Kirby that you've read they're just rags, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's something that forever changed the way I drew my lines or the way that I thought about perspectives. And, it's just, I don't know. I have to say I did shed a couple of tears when I found out George passed. And it was on Free Comic Book Day. It was right after I got back, and it was that was tough. But I knew it was coming. I mean, everybody knew it was coming, but it still didn't make it any. It's a passing of time.
It was more of a shock.
Changing of the guard,
Yeah, it was more of a shock with Neil Adams, but then again, Neil Adams was 80, wasn't he? So
yeah, he was, right.
George was 67. So, or 68, I should say. 68. Yeah, 68. Yeah.
I never, and I never met Neil, and I'm sure if I would have met him, it would have been different maybe, but George, there was just something about him. There was something about his aura, the way that he talked to kids. I was reading an article about there was a little girl that met him with his parents or with her parents. And the dad was a big comic book, fan for years. And they would go to, I think the gentleman was also Puerto Rican descent. And so he would go and they would find George every time they would go to the Comic-Con every year. And the girl one year, she had broken her arm, and she had in the cast and everything. She wasn't the same, she would always go see, Georgie. She called him Georgie. And he would always draw something or whatever. And during they were waiting in the line and everything else. And George noticed that she wasn't as, this wasn't herself, and he didn't see the cast. So he pulled the dad aside because he's known him for, every year they've been there. He pulled him aside. And this is the type of person George was. This is exactly what I'm talking about. This is exactly why I loved him so much, is because he pulled the dad aside. He says, "What's going on? Is she okay? Has something happened?" He said, "Well, she broke her arm and she's really upset about the cast because the cosplay she was trying to do is all messed up because of the cast." And he says, "Well," and she was little. She was probably like 8 or 9. And he says, "Okay, cool. No problem." He says, "Would you mind me borrowing her for a couple minutes? She can come sit with me behind the table." Wow. So he made her sit with him and help him as he signed all these things. He says, he said, "I want to tell you something." He said that I'm paraphrasing, but he said that you're actually just like Wonder Woman. And she's like, this little girl's like, "What are you talking about?" He says, "You are." He says, you're doing everything that Wonder Woman didn't want to do either. She didn't want to go fight people. She didn't want to go, she didn't want people to see, she didn't want to see her this way. And he went on and on about the storyline about, and how she is a hero because she's showing all these other kids that have, that, they can be broken too, but they also heal.
Yeah.
And he drew on this cast, a Wonder Woman for her. Wow. Anyway, so now it was a badge of honor. So when she had it removed, and she still has this is years ago. This is 15 years ago. And so they've been together every year up to the point where he couldn't tour anymore in that. But that's the type of person he is. He's I think that those stories are going to outlive, and that's actually going to perpetuate his art even further than what it is now. I think that those types of stories, and you can go through and look through the feed, the art of George Perez on the Facebook. It's amazing, the stories, and they're countless.
I think
They're countless.
I think the bottom line with it is that George Perez was a really, really, really good human being who was very talented at drawing, rather than being a nice person because he could draw. He was a nice person first.
Yeah.
He just had that outstanding talent to
right. And he was driven too. I mean, people told him he didn't have what it took. And in 3 years, he turned that around, and
we've all had that one.
And there he was. He was, so, it's something to be said. You can treat people with a lot of respect, and you can build a following, and you can build it with compassion, and you can build it with empathy. And I think that he did. And I think that that's going to be what I'm going to remember about him. And I know that there's quite a few of us that have met him, and that really, even my wife, Christine, it forever changed comics for her. I know, just him being as sweet of a man that he was. And I love the fact he wore crazy shirts. I love the fact that he always had that smile, even up till the last days. He still had that smile. And it's fun going back and looking at the pictures of him back in the 70s when he had hair and when he was a little heavier set. And that type of, that's cool. But I didn't know George at that time. I knew George when he was older, when he's bald, and when so, I mean, you guys, you tell us the stories, though. If you guys are watching this on the replay, tell us anything that you guys remember stories about with George. We'd love to hear it, and love to share out his memory in a good way, because it's a wife, his wife really, my heart goes out to her, because I'm sure that it's got to be a very difficult time for her, even though they knew it was coming. Yeah, but that was great guy, really, really great guy, and I'm really gonna respect his artwork even more now. So appreciate you guys.
Follow that. I don't know.
I know. I mean, that's it. I mean, you didn't meet him. I mean, if you like me saying about Jack, you're, you know what I mean. What can you say that hasn't already been said? But check out everything that George Perez has in his catalog. I mean, it's amazing. I can't believe the depth of work that he's done, and the variety. God, I think he's done more characters on covers at one time than any other person. I think. I want to state that. I might be wrong, but check me on that, guys. But that's it. I look forward to getting this Comics Unlimited out. Hold on 1 second. Eric's got something. George is a good human. He didn't spend the last decade on Twitter telling his fans how stupid they are because they have different political views than him, like Neil did. Oof. Okay. Well, that's a good point. That's a good point. At what point isn't important anymore? To be right all the time. I would rather be compassionate than correct in a lot of things, because everybody's got a point of view, and we all have to live on this rock, Let's see. Jody says, I never met George Perez. Neil Adams was one of the few professionals that welcomed me as a publisher that's right. Well, that's good. And see, that's what I mean. There's a lot of wavering with Neil. There was a lot of different viewpoints, and I try to look at only the good, because I think maybe we all had bad days, but it's amazing to me that George, I have yet to read anything poor about him throughout all of his career. So fascinating. And what a testament to him, and what a legacy, what a legacy. So the Comics Unlimited, then, not this cover, but Comics Unlimited will be, we should have everything out on Amazon. We'll send that out on Facebook once it's active, and then you guys can shop that a bit and see what you guys think. And
some really good articles in it.
Fantastic. How many pages on that?
88 pages, this one.
88. Wow.
Yeah. And got some good, got some of the Frank Hampson. He was the creator of Dan Dare.
Yep.
There's an article
I'm just going through them, but yeah,
Yeah.
I love the title on that one. Thank you for putting that down. Anybody who knows anything about being Welsh knows that against
Dylan Thomas.
Rage Against the
And
brilliant.
Death Shall Have No Dominion.
Yes, absolutely.
1942. Look at that.
Yeah, I mean the spreads are excellent. So, and again, how many pages do we have on that one again?
88.
88. Fantastic. Quite a bargain. Check out everything on that. But like I said, we'll let everybody know what's going on. We want to thank you for taking a couple minutes, celebrating a creative life well lived with George Perez.
Yeah.
And I appreciate your time. Thanks again.
Yeah, it's been great. Yeah, it's been another good show.
Good deal. You guys have a great week. Stay safe, stay healthy. And Glenn, I'll talk to you soon. All right.
Yeah. See you later.
Thanks again, guys. Bye.
Welcome to the Comics Unlimited podcast with your hosts, Glenn B. Fleming and Ted Davis.